Oh my God, we are back with another episode of Grindhouse Chic. As always, I am Robert Schneider, and I am joined by Matt Armstrong, and we are waiting for the arrival of the third man. I am not talking about Orson Welles. I am talking about Brian Baldwin. And when he gets here, we are going to do something that I thought was a next to impossible task, counting down our 10 personal favorite releases from Vinegar Syndrome, and we are including VSP, VSA, VSU, and Peakorama, and Exquisite Pictures.
I've seen none of those.
What do you mean you've seen none of them?
None of the exquisite ones.
Well, there were only four, and of the four, three were good, and one was a surfing movie that, while it looked beautiful in 1080p, it might be the biggest piece of shit they ever released. Which means it did not make my top 10.
Nice.
But while we're waiting for Brian to get here, you have any cool pickups this week?
No, actually. I kind of slowed down a little bit after buying the Vinegar Syndrome halfway subscription. I got some stuff on order, but nothing's come in lately. I think the last stuff I got was the like the Necrophiles and Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder.
I didn't order Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder, but I did watch the Necrophiles, and I watched LA AIDS Jabber. And I'm like, if this movie ends the way I think it's going to end, I am going to punch a hole in my wall. And it ended exactly the way I thought it was going to end.
Which one? The AIDS Jabber?
Yeah, and I was 2 weeks from COVID to punch a hole in my wall.
That movie. Go ahead.
That movie made no fucking sense.
I was gonna say I made my brother watch Necrophiles with me.
Oh, that was so bad.
There were a couple parts that I laughed pretty hard at, but overall, yeah, it was it was not great.
I am getting Suburban Sasquatch in this week, and that'll be the determining factor if I order any more at Movies from Visual Vengeance.
Yeah.
Did you take part in Summerfest?
I did. I think I just got the new stuff though. I didn't get any of the sale stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I did too. The VSA looks fucking amazing. I'm holding off watching on Amazon Prime because I'm hoping it ships this week, and I'll have it for next weekend.
Oh yeah, it is the end of the month almost.
I am cool with them upgrading the Young Like It Hot and Sweet Young Foxes to 4K. I personally would have done something else, but
yeah.
I mean, the Young Like It Hot's is a fun movie. Sweet Young Foxes is terrible.
I don't even think that I realized that was a double feature at first.
Yeah, it was originally the first Peakorama Blu-ray, I believe, and it was very limited. And then what's it called, Pandora's Mirror?
Mm-hmm.
That one looks interesting. But
this is a new one, not a re-release.
That one is brand new. Sean Costello film. I have never heard of it, and I think it looks good. I think I finally got around to watching Roller Babies today.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
It was interesting. I think I prefer my porn from the 80s.
What was Roller Babies, 70s?
Yeah, I think it was 74 or 75. It's just, I'm a big fan of Rollerball, And I would expect a porno version of Rollerball to be on the same level of sorts. I don't think I even made it through the whole movie. I thought it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to be able to finally say I watched everything from the last month, and there were some stinkers, like Cyber Vengeance.
Was that bad? I'm actually like, I'm not ever expecting any of those to be good, the VSAs anymore. But that one looked like it was going to be like so bad it's good. But
It didn't make that circle, but what I thought was interesting about it as I was watching it, I realized I've seen that movie before.
oh, really?
I realized I think I rented it with my friend Doug back from the video store that was across the street from his house, and we would watch Beverly Hills 90210 while drinking a 40 or 6-4, and then we would watch a movie after that.
Nice.
And I realized that was one of the movies we watched.
Nice. Are these other two just like Slips, The Trashy Lady, and Blue Ice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both are really good films. Trashy Lady is a fine mobster film starring Ginger Lynn, Amber Lynn, Harry Reams, and a young Tom Byron. Blue Ice is a good detective yarn with Herschel Savage, Danielle, and I can't remember who else was in that one. But it was also, I think it was directed by the same people who did Dracula Sucks. Because there are some common actors in there. Oh, yeah, and there are Nazis. There are Nazis in that one, too.
Yeah, I just started looking at the pictures, and that's the first thing I see.
Yeah, the guy who played Van Helsing in Dracula Sucks is a Nazi in this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So let me ask you this, because this Summerfest kind of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
This sale was kind of meaningless to me.
Yeah.
I can't believe I stayed up till midnight to order shit.
Yeah, it's same thing. I was on vacation again up in Michigan, and I was like, I gotta be back at the place. I gotta be able to get online at midnight to get these sale items. And I got on there, and I was just kind of like, okay. I mean, it just kind of seems like it's the like Valentine's Day sale almost.
No, there was more fanfare with the Valentine's Day one.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if it's like just something to try and clear some space out with all the movies half off, like in the middle of the year, just after the sale or something. I don't know, but yeah, it seemed kind of weird.
I thought it was. I wonder if they're like Severin are phasing out their DVDs and just trying to get rid of them. It would have made more sense to do like a $5 thing or whatever just to get them off the books.
Right. Yeah, that's the one thing I was gonna go back and look to see if I was missing any of those, but I just didn't even bother.
But when would you have the time to watch them? Your backlog is gigantic.
Well, I'm gonna live forever. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I thought I was until I got COVID. I have spent 2+ years avoiding it, and then it hit me, and it sucked.
Yeah,
like it really. They were saying, "Oh, this is mild." I'm like, "What the fuck?" I feel like I want to die.
you're coming out of it now, though.
Yeah, I'm coming out of it. I did go see Bodies over the weekend, and I'm totally masked up and have my hand sanitizer with me.
Yeah.
Like, and that was an interesting movie. As I mentioned in our group chat, I didn't know if it was they didn't know. It felt like the people behind it didn't know if it was a comedy or horror movie. And now that I kind of have stepped back and thought about it, if we were all a bunch of horror fans who were caught up in this situation, we would totally think the same exact shit that went on in there. And I thought Pete Davidson was okay in it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
he's kind of one that I always have mixed feelings about whenever I see him on something. He's either like funny or just like I just want him to get off the screen as fast as possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like Pete Davidson. I think, like, I really like the King of New York, King of Staten Island.
I have not seen that yet.
It's on the HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
I think it is. Though I didn't realize they took off a bunch of stuff. Like last night, I was looking for Pump Up the Volume because I saw it on there a couple of months ago, and that was gone. So was Reservoir Dogs, and I've been going through this Tarantino kick lately. Like where I've been rewatching everything.
Mm-hmm.
So last night I watched Django Unchained, and I forgot that movie's almost 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Because I had a plan. I was going to watch Django Unchained, and then I was going to watch Django. And I'm like, oh no, I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
I don't have time to watch Django OG.
I just recently watched Unchained also. I took like a music appreciation class in my last semester, and one of our like final papers we had to do was to watch a movie and like dissect the scene like that has music in it and then choose different music for it and why. So I chose that movie, and I hadn't watched it in so long, and I was kind of the same way. I turned it on, I was like, my paper was due in like 5 hours, and I was like, "Ooh, do I have time for this?"
Why would you choose that over Dazed and Confused? Because I think Dazed and Confused has one of the greatest scenes involving music, even better than Reservoir Dogs with Little Green Bag, or not,
Yeah.
or Steelers Wheels, and I'm sorry, Stuck in the Middle with You, was Dazed and Confused when Matthew McConaughey's character of Wooderson is walking into the arcade to Bob Dylan's The Hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is just fantastic. Just the way it moves with the camera and
Well, would you want to have changed that music though? That
I,
was like the assignment.
I don't understand how you can change something when I think most song choices are perfect. For example, in the theatrical release of Last American Virgin, hey Brian,
Hey guys.
they used a Human League song. I think it was Fascination or Don't You Want Me, and then when it went to home video, Human League said no, take this song out, and they replaced it with a song that went, Are You Ready for the Sex Girls? And for some, you know what? I take it back. The replacement actually works better than a Human League song. But I don't know, because you're always gonna be able to have to compare it to the original,
Yeah.
and whatever you heard first is the way it should be. Like,
Mhm.
what song in Django Unchained would you have replaced?
Well, I chose that one because I hadn't seen it since I saw it in the theaters, and I remember it like the scenes really like kind of striking oddly with me when it was like the modern rap music playing, and the rest of the movie was like kind of like Western kind of themed music. So I remember that like when I saw it in the theaters, kind of like, whoa, that was unexpected. So I kind of went back and changed one of those scenes.
I actually thought the modern hip hop kind of worked in there.
Yeah, yeah, I think it did too. I don't know.
But
I
we,
just,
we should do an episode at some point where we talk about Tarantino.
yeah, I'm down.
Okay. But Brian, we are about to start. We are going to talk about our top 10 Vinegar Syndrome films of all time so far, and
Oh, I thought we were doing Arrow.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No, we should do that at some point too. I'm going to tell you that this was really hard. Like
Yep.
I knew what my number one was, but there were some that I really thought would be on the list, like the Carlos Tobalina classic Oriental Hawaii, which did not make it. So here's the way I think we should do, because I'm pretty sure we might have some overlap. If we do, we don't talk about where it is on our personal list, but whoever mentions it first is where we'll have the conversation about it. Though, the addendum is when we get to it on our list, we talk about why it's where it is on that list. And Brian, since you're the last one to arrive, why don't you go first with your number 10 choice?
Okay, nice. So this one, just to preface it a little bit, I took the opportunity when we were deciding that we wanted to do this. I was like, okay, well, what better time to go through, watch some of the titles that have been on my shelf for a while that I just haven't gotten around to. Although I unfortunately wasn't able to get to all of them, I did knock out a good chunk. This first one, I will be honest, I'm putting it on there for a few different reasons. Number one, I don't really think, at least of the titles that I have seen in their catalog, there's much like it. It kind of reminded me of a Harmony Korine type of film. And I don't know whether it was just my mood or what, but it stuck with me to the point that when I was trying to decide my list, I was like, I think this one deserves to be on there. It's one that I don't really hear discussed a whole lot. It does not have a tremendous amount of rewatchability for me. I found the film to be rather depressing. It's a film that its topic revolves around death and reincarnation and things of that nature. And I kind of played a lazy card here because I didn't want to write everything down. So my number 10 spot is The Passing.
I have still yet to watch that one.
I'll be honest, I held off on it for so long because everyone had said, this one kind of hits you in the feels in a way that you probably don't expect from one of their releases. And it really did. Now, don't get me wrong. It's strange and it's bizarre and it has some really just weird moments. But the general tone of just following it, it kind of follows different characters and their struggles that they're going through in life. And then again, it sort of ties all these people into like this idea of reincarnation. There's a woman who lost her lover. There's two friends who are in war together. And it kind of goes through their life and what they've dealt with and what they've struggled with. And then, kind of forms this sort of beautiful thing of like, well, is it really over? I mean, are they just someone else? Not, it's interesting. And again, it stuck with me in a way that I didn't really anticipate that it would. So I feel like it deserves to be on the list.
Is it more of a horror film or a sci-fi or character study?
Yeah, it's sci-fi character study, I would say. Definitely heavy on the sci-fi. Yeah, a science fiction drama is what I would.
It's been on my list not on my list, on my watch pile since I got it. I just haven't been a lot of Vinegar Syndrome movies deal with death in different ways. I heard this one was a little bit emotional, so I stayed away from it for a little while. But yeah. I think I might have to watch it this week.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear what you think.
I will let you know if I get to it. Matt, what is your first choice?
I kind of had the same kind of going into this attitude that Brian had. I'm pretty confident in saying that I'm probably the low man on the totem pole here with how many Vinegar Syndrome movies I've seen. So that might make my list a little predictable to you guys here. So the first one I went to is actually the first Vinegar Syndrome movie that I actually ever watched. It was kind of my introduction. It wasn't the first one that I bought, but first one that I watched because the premise just seemed outrageous, and that is Welcome Home, Brother Charles.
I love this movie.
I still haven't watched it.
He strangles someone with his dick.
It's a shot to the top of my list.
All right. First of all, it was so this was your introduction to Vinegar Syndrome.
This was my first one. Yeah, I kind of got like my original stack, I guess, and they were just kind of sitting there. I didn't know which way to go, so I started just looking them up, and I saw the synopsis for this movie, and I was like, "This is the one. I got to check this one out." And I think that it was a very good introduction to Vinegar Syndrome, because it's kind of, definitely not mainstream, but definitely not so obscure that you can watch it once and never watch it again kind of deal. I think it was like a good, strange, entertaining, just kind of intro into what Vinegar Syndrome offers. And like you said, it is the story of Charles, who has this a special ability to grow his penis to unimaginable lengths, and
but if I recall correctly, it was because of experimentation in the prison.
It was voodoo experimentation in the prison,
which they totally leave out of the trailer pretty much leaves it all out, except there's a hint of what it is.
Yes.
So I have two. All right, go on. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I thought I did some reading afterwards and saw that it was like a student film that they like worked on the weekends, and you can tell that it's not like, anyone with any significant amount of experience behind them, but it just really worked for me. It was entertaining. It was funny. The story was decent. I feel like some things kind of got cut out that needed explained, but overall I was really, really happy with it.
All right, so I have two funny stories about this movie. One, I waited forever to see it. It was the trailer is on one of Synapse's 42nd Street Forever discs, and I just loved the construction of the trailer, and it was like just the way the announcer would go, "Welcome home, brother Charles," and it had this total this vibe to it, like, oh, this is a movie I need to see. It looks like a revenge flick. It looks amazing. And I was able to find it on DVD at this place where I would go buy and rent movies all the time called Thomas Video, rest in peace. But when I got it, when I was go to pick it up, the guy goes, "This is an edited version of the film." And I'm like, well, I don't want to see it. I want to see Welcome Home, Brother Charles. And then when Vinegar Syndrome released it, I was so happy. And I watched it, and I am like, well, crap. The trailer did not tell me shit. There was a hint. And how is it that more people don't know about this movie? Because it's so great, it's fun, and it has the most creative use of a pecker that I've ever seen in a film. And I will also say the second feature on there is actually MMA is actually a pretty good film too.
I do need to watch that.
All right.
Is that one that recently went out of print, or is it still available?
I have no idea.
I can check real quick.
All right, while you're doing that. So, I kind of, the way I organized my list, and again, this was extremely difficult because just narrowing it down to 10, I will tell you, I did a cheat at number 9. I have a tie at 9. But there's a connection to both of them. First of all, if it was a movie I never heard of before and that blew me away, it made the list, which is most of them. And it's mostly something about with the Vinegar Syndrome premise of what their label was of restoring movies that really didn't get love from other companies. Though there is a couple in here that were released from other labels. But my first pick was the Arthur Allen Seidelman film, The Caller, starring Malcolm McDowell and Madeline Smith. This was, I'll be honest, when this one came out, I had no interest in it. It looked stupid. It sounded stupid. And when I watched it, I'm like, wow, this is the kind of movie M. Night Shyamalan would have made, should have made, because it had so many twists. It's carried by two actors. It's intense. And when you get to that last 15 minutes, when you finally realize what kind of movie it is, it's like, holy fuck. And I don't want to spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it, because this one is just mind-blowingly good. And I hate to say it, somebody needs to remake this movie. Because
It's fantastic, man. Yeah. And you do not see that ending coming nowhere. You know what I mean? It hits you so hard, like, what?
but here's the thing: when you go back and rewatch it, I did rewatch it during the week or last weekend. There were clues throughout it that where that ending, you're like, the payoff is so much greater. When you just like listen to dialogue, you're like, oh wow, they were setting this up. They were totally setting this up. And
yeah,
I am not, I'll also be honest, I am not familiar with Madeline Smith. I don't know what she's really done, but she was really good. Malcolm McDowell was just creepy. And this kind of cat and mouse game they played throughout the film, it's just great writing. It was a movie that used its budget correctly and for the biggest momentum. And again, when you get to that ending, you're like, wow, at least on the first viewing, I did not see this coming. And I think that's what makes a great movie. And it's one of the Vinegar Syndrome movies that I love showing people because they love it. It's starts out slow, but it's a slow burn that unravels and unravels and unravels, and it's one of those films that more people should know about.
I love that you mentioned it. I actually there's only two films in this stack that I have of honorable mentions that I was going to put at the end, and one of them is The Caller. It just barely did not make my list.
I struggled, and I was upset that it went to number 10, but the nine that are above it are just like, I had to put them there. So Brian, what is your number 9?
So yeah, I'm kind of this one is placed here for a reason, I guess. It should technically be ranked higher in the list. I will admit that. I think I'm kind of being a little bit selfish because of the amount of rewatchability this one has. This one will probably not come as a shocker to the two of you. Another one that had just been sitting on my shelf for a long time that I hadn't watched, got around to it, and holy shit, did it hit me so heavy and so hard, which its intention was to do, and it's very effective. The reason it is as low on my list is, again, not really one that you're going to pop on for shits and giggles a lot, but I'm going with Buddies. It's a phenomenal film. It's about the AIDS pandemic during the 80s. A gay man decides to volunteer for like a buddy system with people who have been diagnosed with HIV and AIDS. And it just really hits every conversation that you've ever heard in your entire life about the disease. And the stuff you hear as a kid about where does it come from. Like every single aspect of AIDS is discussed in this film in a very, very raw, real, and emotional way. And I cannot believe I waited so long to watch it. I highly recommend that you do get it, purchase it. I think it's an important film to see. I think it was wonderfully acted. And again, it will tug on your heartstrings for sure.
I agree with everything you said, and that one sadly did not make my list. But I think it's a beautiful movie. I think it's an important movie. It's an emotional gut wrench. I think it would make a hell of a play.
Yeah,
But
I could see that.
I think when you look at the Vinegar Syndrome library, it's the odd movie out. It doesn't feel like one of their films. And while I can't say with 100% certainty, I have a feeling this was earmarked towards the exquisite label line at some point. And when that line faltered, it went to Vinegar Syndrome proper. But I think again it's an emotionally beautiful film, and it deserves to be seen. But it is not a happy movie.
No, it's not. I just, well, everything you just said, I agree with. Obviously, I love when a movie takes something, when film writers take a subject as heavy as AIDS, though, and that they do attack it as hard as they do with this. There's a lot of movies that have been made about AIDS, but how many of them are so open about the discussion of sex in them and stuff like that? Like, hey, this guy has AIDS, but he still is sexually driven. He's still alive at the, things like that. But I was like, man, you don't see that, in a lot of these films where they discuss it to the lengths that they did here.
I mean, when this movie came out, I think really the only one that may have beat it to the punch was the made-for-TV movie A Touch of Frost.
I'm not familiar with that one.
This one worked because it came from a personal place, and I can't remember the director's name, but he came from the gay adult world as a writer, director, performer, and also as a man who had AIDS and eventually succumbed to it years later. This was
Arthur Bresson Jr.
Arthur Bresson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
This was a personal story, and it's a gut wrenching film, and again deserves to be seen. But Matt, have you seen it?
I have not. No. This whole video is going to be pretty much movies for me to watch.
Nice.
And I'll definitely watch it.
It's a beautiful movie, and I just wonder if certain Vinegar Syndrome fans are staying away from it because of the subject matter and the fact that it's not a horror film or a sex movie or a thriller or a VHS classic or something that was shown on HBO multiple times during the day. I mean, up until Vinegar Syndrome released it, I believe it was considered a lost movie. That, again, it fulfilled the promise of what VS is about, and it's still in print. Order it. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah.
Matt, what is your number 9 pick?
My number 9 is kind of something like how you said in your opening there, kind of something that something you've never seen before, and this was definitely that for me. I had seen movies like it, but nowhere near the way that this one is, and we were actually supposed to talk about this one once for the podcast in our Grindhouse Chic After Dark series that's going to happen one day.
Oh yeah.
And it is the 1976 Let My Puppets Come. Very unfortunate movie to move on to next after Brian's. But yeah, we watched this. I really wasn't sure what to expect. I kind of saw it. I kind of was thinking in my head like, oh yeah, let my puppets come. And it was not let my puppets come.
It is not a porno.
Correct.
It is a beautiful puppet musical about idiot brothers who need to make a porno to get a loan shark off their. It is a brilliant satire, especially of the names of the puppet actors.
Yeah.
And if this movie was still in print, it would have behooved Vinegar Syndrome to release the soundtrack for it.
Yeah, that's one thing. The songs in it are incredible. I thought the writing was really good. There was tons of parts where I, like laughed out loud. Even just like the tongue-in-cheek things with like their business name. I have it in front of me so that I can actually say it. It's the Creative Concept Systems and Procedures Brothers Unlimited Incorporated of New York is their entire business name.
And you have no idea what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just kind of something that I had never seen before. I watched it, didn't know what to expect, and it just kind of like, blew me away in a sense of just how kind of unique it was. And it's 75 minutes, so it's a good length for what it is. I think I was talking to you about it before. Didn't you say it was supposed to be much longer, or is this the long version?
This is the longer version, the one that was eventually released on video cassette and that you could find on the tube sites back in the day, was shorter. There were things they had to cut out of it, like the live sequence with the man and his family for obvious reasons, which we won't get into. But no, I mean, this was I was excited about it when VS released it, and even more excited when I found out that one of the people who wrote the songs ended up doing Disney music.
Nice.
I can see it. No, I actually still need to watch that one.
Yeah, it's really unique, I thought, and I quite enjoyed it.
Nice.
It would have been a great double feature with Meet the Feebles if I could actually find my copy of it. But we ended up watching the Muppet movie afterwards. And funnily, it is a spoof of the 1976 Broadway musical Let My People Come, and was released the same year as The Muppet Show.
Interesting.
Some fun facts.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 9 is a cheat. Because I have 2 movies in here, and it's a tie. And there's a thing that connects them as the main actress. It's a tie between Slava Zuckerman's 1982 sci-fi new wave movie Liquid Sky and Larry Cohn's Perfect Strangers. Both star Anne Carlisle, who I am obsessed with. Liquid Sky we've discussed on here before. She played a dual role where she fucked herself, which was pretty amazing. And it had one of the most insane plots of aliens on the roof killing people she is having sex with when they reach the point of orgasm. And this was a movie I have seen before. I've seen it on videotape, and when I lived in Kansas City, one of the film collectives there showed it of a VHS rip, and it was great seeing it with an audience, and it's just a great release. Perfect Strangers is such a great concept. Little kid sees a hitman kill a drug dealer. The hitman is ordered to kill the kid. His plan is to get close to the woman by getting involved with her in her life, and one day letting the kid have an accident. It's just a very intense movie with a pretty intense ending. Plus, it has Ann Magnuson, who is in one of my favorite post-punk bands, Bongwater, in a supporting role. And I just absolutely love the movie, and I could not decide between the two of them for the number 9 spot. So I figured the Ann Carlisle connection would allow me to have this cheat.
Nice.
Yeah, I still let's see. I've watched Liquid Sky twice, and I'm still trying to process it.
What are you trying to process?
No, not the concept necessarily. It's just such a weird fucking movie, man. It is so fucking weird. I'm not disagreeing with you that it should or should not be on a list or whatever. It's just fucking weird.
It's weird in a good way because it dives into the vapidness of New York club model drug culture, and obviously was made for no fucking money at all.
Sure. Yeah.
But you also have the inane plot with the German scientist going into that woman's apartment and having the weirdest love story in movie history. But Liquid Sky is just one of those new wave movies that, again, should have found a bigger cult audience than it did, and for some reason it's been highly unavailable. And I know it's not for music rights because there were no mainstream songs in that film. Like, I think all the music was written for the movie. And I don't know. It's one of those movies that needs an audience, and you need to see it with people. And I just love it. And Perfect Strangers, just a really interesting premise, really good acting, which makes me wonder.
Yeah, that one received a lot more. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy.
It makes me wonder why Ann Carlisle again did not become a bigger star. But
yeah, all I was going to say was that one surprised me when I watched it, when I received it, and I was very pleased with it. And this is around the time of the month where everyone was starting to get their packages, and I went on the Facebook group, and I was seeing so much hate about it, and I was like, really? Like I was pretty damn stellar myself, but
I did too. And I mean, it was an interesting take of New York at that time, and you still saw the seediness there. And one of the scenes that really grabbed me was when her ex-husband took the kid, and just the panic of her looking for her son. And I'm like, wow, this movie is going there. And like, the husband subplot seemed to really come out of nowhere. And what I thought it did really well is he became like a one-dimensional villain, and they added a lot of depth to him later on in the film where he still loved her. And any movie that does that for a character who really was just very peripheral just made me like the movie more.
Well said.
Yeah.
So, Brian, what is your number 8 pick?
All right, number 8. I think it's a good spot for me to say as well. And I said this for the last list, and I'm just going to go ahead and assume I'll say it for any of these top 10 lists. I probably could have made several more of these for different reasons, because there's so many wonderful films in this catalog. But I really stuck to my gut once I found out that we were ranking them. I stuck true to my soul. I even rewatched some. And one of which I was actually surprised I had to kick off the list. I always held it in regards as one of my favorite VS releases. And for whatever reason, upon a rewatch, Evils of the Night got the boot. It got the
Deservedly
boot.
so.
I admit it's pretty slow. You know, it's pretty clunky, but I've always really had a good time with that. Anyway, I digress. This one is one that has been discussed a lot amongst us. Not a tremendous amount to say that we haven't already said, although we haven't ever had like a deep delve discussion of this. This is one, and you guys will know it as soon as I say this, that sadly took a long time to sell because it is a subtitled movie. It is also one of 2 Christmas titles on my list. But yes, I went for number 8 with Deadly Games. I just think it is so fucking fun. The songs are phenomenal. Again, the very drunk lady, I can never remember her name. Happy Birthday Christmas. No, it's so much fun. Again, there's not a lot to say about it that hasn't already been said. If you like Home Alone, you like Christmas movies, you like some horror in your Christmas and some thrills and suspense, then this is the movie for you. It's funny, it's charming, it's got scary moments, it's got tense moments, and it's still odd enough, I think, of a film to fit very well in the VS catalog. I don't think it's anything that's jarring to, like, oh wow, what's that doing in this, library of films. Yeah, that's my number 8.
Nice. So before we get to Matt, I'm going to have to say it's also at my number 8 position.
Yes. Nice.
Okay, so I immediately forgot the rule that we were doing, but the movie is also my number 4 position.
Okay, you were supposed to say where it was, just that it was on the list.
Delete that.
Yeah, but when we get to your number 4, you'll explain why.
Okay.
So this one was kind of a tough one for me. I enjoy it. It's interesting. I'm still in shock that in France they had a public internet that people could use back in the day. And this movie warned us of the dangers of the internet when you had a creepy, sadistic child killer Santa Claus on the loose. And you had this house that has an amazing basement of toys and inventions that the kid's dead dad created. Like, he knew this day would come. But it's a fun movie. I enjoy it. And Brian, I agree with everything you said on there. So nice. I'll hold off a little bit more discussion when we get to where it is on Matt's list. But Matt, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is one that I know you guys are going to be surprised about, that it's so low. It is known as Resurrección. It is known as Policías M. Ampuros. It is known as Zombie Cop. But the name we all know and love it by is Dead Heat. Number 8, that's not bad, right? So you got a bad taste in your mouth over there? Or?
Why don't you guys talk amongst yourself for a minute about this movie? And I'm going to excuse myself for a second.
I'm with you 100%, Matt.
Yeah.
I'm with you, bud.
If there's anyone watching this who has never seen this movie, I don't know who that would be, but it's the story of, just some cops who are just, arresting zombies, and they end up dying and get kind of turned into a zombie as well. And it's got action, it's got comedy, it's got horror. Does it have horror?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one that I actually, most Vinegar Syndrome movies I have never heard of in my entire life. This was one that I, clearly remember from growing up. I remember loving it back then. I was really excited when I saw that it was getting a 4K release. And it's a just a good, funny movie. I think it's, one, you don't need to be into weird movies. You don't need to be into like, obscure whatever. This is just like a good watchable movie that you can watch over and over again. Yeah, good action, good special effects. It's got a good cast. I know Robert hates what's his name? Piscopo.
Oh, Joe Piscopo.
Yeah. But it makes he's back.
We're talking about the movie that destroyed Treat Williams' career, right? We're talking about the movie where Joe Piscopo had a mullet throughout the entire film, right? We're talking about the movie where Joe Piscopo's character was sexist and that they gave away the movie's villain pretty much in the first 5 minutes. Sorry.
Well, to defend you, Matt,
I'm ready.
it's, because you were saying it's one that, you don't really have to be into obscure films to enjoy. It's because it is a well-made buddy cop comedy movie with horror elements thrown into it. It's so familiar. Like the story, it writes itself. As long as you have good humor sprinkled throughout, which they did, then it works.
I used the word well made in there.
I did. I certainly did.
Oh, I knew one of you was going to put this movie on your list.
You knew who it was going to be.
I did not know because both of you have, for some reason, loved this movie, and
I'm also a really big Darren McGavin fan too. So this one also kind of, has a spot on me there as well.
Yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it. And
can you at least appreciate the fact that it's only number 8?
I would have appreciated more if it was an honorable mention. But look,
I haven't watched that many.
But to each your own. You know what? I can understand it. It's a movie you guys probably grew up with. I saw it theatrically, and I hated it. I spent at that time probably $5.50 for a late night movie on it. So, and if I wasn't a subscriber, it probably would have been a film that I would not have bought.
Do you own the Blu-ray?
What Blu?
Before the 4K came out? Like, did you double dip?
This wasn't a double dip.
I mean, I was asking if you owned the Blu-ray before this 4K came out.
From who? Who put it out?
It might have been Kino.
The answer is no. I've never owned this on physical media before.
You have really been missing out, I gotta say.
I have not. All right, Brian. Numbers, unless we're not done talking about Dead Heat.
Well, I believe we already did an episode about this one. I think I got it all out then. So,
okay, Brian, you're number 7.
Yeah, so number 7, I am going with another one that I kind of consider to be really, really underappreciated. This is one that I went and revisited again. And I will be completely honest with you. Well, aside from the fact that I wanted to make sure I like it that much, but there was one reason why. This movie has some music in it that really ramps up the film for me. And I wanted to make sure that wasn't the only reason that I really liked it. But anyway, we're going with 1991 with Anson Williams' All-American Murder.
Oh, such a good movie.
I love this fucking movie. I love it. I think I liked it even more on the rewatch than I did the first time. There are some elements of it that I found to be kind of weird. Like some of the, I guess this would be considered editing and not pacing, but there's like some really quick, like, oh, hey, I need to go check on this. Bam, you cut like right into it. Like it's super fast. Like everything's just bam, 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 bam. But Christopher Walken is fucking delightfully Christopher Walken in the movie. I love him as this detective who's helping this young boy who is basically being framed for murder. for this really popular, well-liked girl in this college town's community. And this is one that definitely can't be discussed too much because there is a great twist at the end of the film. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yes, the music kicks ass in this fucking movie. It is so 80s fantastic. Sorry, early 90s fantastic, and I love it.
You're forgetting that the woman who played the teacher that the main character slept with is a really good actress, Joanna Gleason. And Melrose Place's Josie Bissett in her second best Vinegar Syndrome appearance, which would be her first be Hitcher in the Dark. One thing about this film is when in one of the special features, when they interview the lead actor, who was saying at one point they were trying to get David Lynch to direct it, and Don Johnson was supposed to be in the Christopher Walken role. I would love to visit the Earth where that was the version that was released.
Yeah. There's also another really fun thing in those special features as well with our main actor there. I can't remember his name, but anyway, it's unimportant. He's discussing a conversation that he had on set with Christopher Walken. You know, you got to think he's just like this young, kid at this time. He says he's talking to Christopher Walken, and Walken looks at him, and I'm not even going to try to do an impression because I'm terrible at it. He's like, your teeth are your teeth, they're very white, but mine are strong.
That was pretty good, actually.
Was that all right? Was that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also going to say that Christopher Walken might have been the worst cop in the world for giving that kid time to go solve the murder. I got to go home and watch TV. You solve the crime for me. But
oh man,
I'm very glad that Patsy Weber directed a movie that wasn't just a TV film or an episode of a TV show. But All American Murder, I will say it did not make my list. It was again, this list was so fucking hard to make, and yeah, but it's
absolutely.
a good choice. Matt, what is your next pick?
I have to also say that my number 7 is All American Murder.
Woohoo!
Really?
This was one that when we first said we were going to do this, I kind of tried to go through and watch some more, since I haven't watched that many. And this is one that I chose to watch. And everything that Brian said, I thought it was really good. The music was like one of the things I noticed, because it seemed like it went from like rock power ballad, just like out of nowhere all the time, and then just right back into a scene. One of the things I liked is that it seemed like the main guy was really trying to be Marty McFly from Back to the Future. I felt like he was trying to pull the voice off. His character's name was Artie instead of Marty. So I feel like I was getting a real Back to the Future vibe from him. But
excuse me.
I liked the murders. I liked I liked Christopher Walken as the cop. He said like the most off the wall things at all time. I remember the scene when he was like called in to negotiate with the guy, and all he did was like bring his wife with him. And
it makes you wonder why the producers of CSI Miami hired David Caruso instead of him, because he would have dropped some great Carusoisms on that show.
Yeah, really, really good. One thing I was laughing about the whole time was that they clearly like put in footstep noises after the fact, and they were just like so incredibly loud all the time, and it was just like funny to hear it. But yeah, I'm really glad that I just randomly decided to watch this one for this.
I am glad you guys did too. I'm also glad I did not pick this for my number 7. My number 7 is an adult movie, my only adult film on the list, and I once asked myself at a young age what it would be like if Tennessee Williams wrote a classic erotica film, and I kind of got that answer from 1974's Gerard Damiano's classic Memories Within Miss Aggie. Holy fuck.
That one almost made mine. Almost.
This movie is a mind fuck. And there's plenty of sex, but it's the story of Miss Aggie, and we'll use the word husband. Her memory is kind of going, and she's talking about the way they met, and there's different versions of the story throughout the film. And when you get to the end, you're like, oh my God, this movie is insane. Again, like Gerard Damiano did such things like, I think he did Deep Throat, Devil and Miss Jones, and this one was something I never heard about until Vinegar Syndrome threw it out there, and it's such a good and unique movie. Very sad that, much like Let My Puppets Come, it's out of print, but from what I heard, the Damiano State is going to be re-releasing them at some point down the line. So,
I also think it's fair to mention, at least from my perspective, I found the film to be supremely bleak, depressing, and creepy as fuck.
Oh, it was very
for
creepy.
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at a runtime of not even 70 minutes, they packed a lot in here. Like, this movie is a classic, and the two main leads of it aren't sex stars. They don't have any sex scenes in it. And it makes me wonder what kind of movie they thought they were making. Because in some ways it feels, the sex scenes feel like a very, very different. And maybe that was the way Damiano was trying to direct it, but it felt like he was trying to make this movie that bridged mainstream and porn. And he did it. I just wish it became one of those, like, you know, one of those tentpole adult films like, Deep Throat, Behind the Green Door, Devil and Miss Jones, and Debbie Does Dallas, that became like the ones that transcended, and this one just kind of fell by the wayside. I don't think I show many of my friends the adult stuff. I would show them this one in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
All right. Brian, what is your number 6 pick?
All right. So number 6 is one for me that I just find delightful in just about every single way. It's odd, it's strange, it's very humorous intentionally. It also has a really cool history of the film being, you know, shot one way and then getting downgraded to a lower rating to appease audiences. And then, of course, some fantastic people were able to integrate all the stuff together to give us the complete and respectable version of Tammy and the T-Rex.
Nice.
I love that movie. I think it pretty much, aside from the pornography aspect, kind of encompasses a lot of what VS does. And it's also one that's, it's just very crowd pleasing, and I can enjoy it by myself as well. But it is definitely one that I've had some of the most fun times watching with audiences. You know, everyone's always, of course, like, "Oh my God, is that Paul Walker? Oh my God, Denise Richards? Oh my God, what the fucking you know?" And it's just a great film. I love everything about it. It's about as cookie cutter, I guess, as you could possibly get with a lot of it. But then, of course, the inclusion of the gore with the dinosaur and all that weird shit. It's just, it's delightful in every way, and I love it.
My favorite part is Denise Richards' dance at the end of it to Paul Walker's brain in a jar. I don't know how we could see it, but thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing because, you know, her parents as well are just like, "Oh God, you know, she's doing so good. Look at her moving past all this," you know, and secretly she's just strip teasing to a fucking brain. I love it. I love it.
Also, that Bernie from the Weekend at Bernie's franchise is the mad scientist.
Yep.
And it's not even a real dinosaur, it's an animatronic dinosaur.
Oh, and you have you're speaking of like not necessarily cameos, but Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite is the pizza delivery guy in this one. So
Pre-Napoleon Dynamite.
yeah.
It's a good addition. It's a fun, dumb movie.
Have you watched that one, Matt?
I have, yeah. It's been a long time, but yeah, the thing that I remember the most about it was that it seemed like Denise Richards and Paul Walker were like a little too young. Their characters were a little too young to be doing
Don't
what they
make this
were in the
creepy,
movie.
Matt. Don't make this creepy.
So their characters were too young.
No, here's the thing.
If I'm remembering it right.
They both felt like high school students.
Mm-hmm.
It was her ex-boyfriend that worried me because he was too old for her.
Okay.
Even though he went to high school as well. It's a good movie, and again, very glad that Vinegar Syndrome put out the definitive version of it, but it has dinosaurs in it, so it wouldn't make my top 10 list.
Oh man, that's why it made my top 10. Get out of here.
Are you not a dinosaur fan?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Matt,
Not even like Jurassic Park? Like
I've never seen
nothing?
Jurassic Park.
Whoa.
What?
Because at some point, I know we're going to be living it, and I'll be like, this is even scarier than the movies led me to believe. All right, Matt, what is your number 6?
My number 6 is one that I kept going back and forth on, not whether to put it on the list, but whether it should be as high as it is, and I kind of stuck on where it's at, and it's kind of another kind of like more mainstream movie, kind of like an easy watch to get into, and it's one of the few that I've actually shown people. I've shown this one to my wife's aunt and her friend. I've shown it to my friends. My wife actually watched it.
Please don't say Taboo.
It was Taboo 4 actually. No, it's 1994's Scanner Cop.
Ooh.
Okay.
And I actually never knew this existed. I had always, I've seen Scanners, and I knew that had, two direct sequels, and I never knew that, like, I don't know if these would be labeled as like a sequel or just like an offshoot. But I never knew they existed. And then Vinegar Syndrome did the 4K bundle, and I was like, oh, those are probably pretty crappy, because they're probably just like, made for TV kind of offshoot things. And I only watched the first one, and I think I watched it for one of our episodes actually. I just really liked it. I've always really liked like body horror, so I thought the effects were really cool in this. I remember in the original, I thought that the scanner power was like cool and kind of scary, but in this one I thought it seemed a lot scarier, because going into it you're kind of like, oh god, a cop with this power, like, is he going to be good, is he going to be bad? Like, what's going to happen? And I really liked it. I honestly think that I like it more than Scanners.
Well, first of all, it's heresy.
Yeah, but I think it's another one that it's just like an easy movie to get into. I don't know if I would say this is like a Vinegar Syndrome movie so much, but I feel like it's a good thing to get into if you're trying to get into Vinegar Syndrome.
So I'm going to say the original Scanners is and always will be a classic. The 2 sequels that I think were available from Shout Factory are complete and utter shit. Scanner Cop 2 basically acknowledges the events of Scanners, making it a direct sequel to the original one. I had seen Scanner Cop when it was on VHS, and again, I thought it was a piece of shit because it wasn't as good as Scanners, and I was a film snob back then, and
Yeah.
I have to take it as something different, a much, lower end film that's set in the same universe, and it's the closest one to being a superhero film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was one aspect of this. I don't remember if this was in the original Scanners, but I liked the like going into someone's mind aspect. Like we were brought into the mind. We were like saw him like running around in their mind. There's the aspect of like getting trapped in their mind. I don't remember if that was in the original one or not.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I liked that little addition to it.
No,
Guys, I apologize. I'll be right back. Okay, keep going.
I thought the original Scanner Cop was. I think both Scanner Cops are good movies, and they're exactly what they were meant to be. Just these direct to VHS films that capitalized on a cult classic, but I think they both forged their own path. I liked the kid. I liked the fact that he's trying to be a cop. And I also like the fact that, hey, there are other scanners out there, bad scanners, who are doing shitty things.
Yeah.
Let's use you to our advantage. And I think if the producers were right, they could have turned this into a TV show that would have lasted a season or two.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good premise.
Yeah, I was actually thinking when I was adding to my list, I think it would be really good as like a show kind of. I don't know if you have watched Stranger Things, but something similar to like a Stranger Things where it's it has more of a bigger budget kind of thing.
This would have been a 1990s syndicated show that would have been played between Earth Final Conflict and Mutant X. But no, I think Skinner Cop films are good. Brian, you have anything to add on it?
Oh, I love them. Absolutely. Honestly, I remember because I watched them both back to back. It was one of those rare opportunities that I had to sit through them both. I kind of feel like I remember thinking that the second one was a lot more comical. But yeah, I also was really impressed with the body horror elements and things of that nature in the first one, especially. No, that's a great choice. It's a great choice.
Yep, it did not make my list, but my list at this point I think becomes a little bit more mainstream, I think, than I would have liked, because my next pick is one of my favorite movies of all time, and when Vinegar Syndrome released it, it was like seeing it for the first time, widescreen and uncut for the first time since the first time I saw it. I am talking about Cliff Rockmore's, Rudy Ray Moore's classic Dolomite 2, The Human Tornado. Any movie that starts with a nightclub act, then goes to a party where Dolomite is having sex with the sheriff's wife. The sheriff is called by the redneck family because black people are having a party in whatever southern state this is in. You then have Dolomite, the sheriff, accidentally killing his wife. Dolomite goes on the run because he's going to be framed for it, jumps off a cliff naked, and then we hear some of the best dialogue ever in a movie where he goes, "Doug, if a snake bit me in the leg, what would you do? I'd suck the poison out of it, Dolomite. What if it bit me in the ass? You'd be one dead motherfucker, Dolomite." You then have them hit basically carjacking a guy who willingly drives them to Los Angeles, where they get embroiled in a mob turf war over Queen Bee's club, where Queen Bee and the kung fu hookers, whores, women of the evening are being forced to work for the mob. And then it just gets weirder. Just such a good film. It was, again, it was like seeing it for the first time. I know I last week I talked about Petey Wheatstraw and how much I love that film, but that's when we were doing our horror all night marathon. But I've probably worn out my Blu-ray copy of this movie. I've watched it so many times.
So this is actually the only one from Vinegar Syndrome that I haven't watched, is the Human Tornado. I feel like I'm really missing out. You keep talking about it.
You are missing out. You are missing out.
Yeah, I need to watch it as well.
Ernie Hudson's debut movie.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, yeah. All right, since you guys haven't seen it yet, let's move on to the halfway point, the number 5 pick. Brian, what is your first one?
All right, so moving in to the top 5, I went with one that I was really, really surprised at how well made it was when I first viewed it. Now, this is one that is coming out of a box set. Okay. Individual title, though, because I know those are the rules.
Yep.
And this is pretty easy for that reason, too. But I adore this movie. It's one that I definitely think if more people watched it, it would get more. Well, I was going to say something stupid. If more people watch it to get more recognition, it's one that more people should watch. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. I love the fact that it's in Vinegar Syndrome's catalog because otherwise I'm afraid that I would have never seen it. But yes, I am going with Angel for my number 5 pick. I adore this film. I think it's supremely well acted. It's a great, great premise. You get really invested in your characters, at least in my opinion. And I think it's wonderful.
It's the best high school honor student by day, Hollywood hooker by night movie ever released. And let's give it up for Angel. I don't know how she earned money because she did not have sex with anybody in that movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, Angel's great. Dick Shawn is the transvestite neighbor with the heart of gold, or the cross-dressed neighbor with the heart of gold. Who played the neighbor? Was it Susan Terrell played the other neighbor? She's also one of my films that's coming up, but Angel is great. It has a good murder storyline that's happening, and Rory Calhoun is in it.
Yep. Yeah, I just think it's an extremely charming movie that deals with, people living on they're just trying to survive basically, and you have this young girl, Angel, who's been put in a situation not by her, her choice. She's just kind of been placed in the situation, and it's great. It kind of deals with seedy New York and her, or is it California?
It was Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard. That's right. Yeah. Sorry. With her kind of dealing with people who have also been down on their luck, and some folks, all of the folks in the movie are a little bit older than her, but it's very, again, just charming. These people kind of take her in, sort of protect her while she's out here on the streets and stuff like that. It's a very heartfelt movie, I feel.
It's really amazing that she felt the cracks of Child Protective Services.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's a good movie.
I do think it's fair to mention too that I do think that all 3 films in that set are really good. I like all 3 of them.
I like the first 2. The third feels like a very different movie that the Angel story was kind of forced into it.
Yeah, I'll agree, but I think it fits enough. I think it's still worthy of your time.
I agree. Angel's a good film. If the box set was still available, order it because that box was beautiful. But all three are currently still available from Vinegar Syndrome at vinegarsyndrome.com. Matt, what is your number 5 choice?
My number 5 is another one that we actually did an episode of, and I feel like was the movie that I kind of had the most to say about, actually. And it was it's 1980 Vernon Zimmerman's Fade to Black. Whoops. But kind of just the kind of just the story of kind of a loner guy, kind of I don't want to say like loser, but I'd say more of like a misunderstood guy who kind of lives at home with his aunt mom and just watches movies all day, and goes to work and deals with movies at work, and ends up kind of just getting completely engulfed in the cinema world to a point where it turns violent, I guess. And I try not to give too much away when I talk about these, but to me it was really cool seeing how he kind of just kind of downward spirals into these movie characters, and how he identifies with them, and kind of just the character study that I thought it was. And there was an aspect to it that I remember talking to you about, Robert, where I was really hoping the the social worker aspect was going to have more of a key role into it, because I thought it was going to be more of like a like social worker versus police force kind of back and forth, but it ended up not being. But just a really cool movie, kind of caught me off guard when we watched it. Didn't really know what it was going to be about, but ended up really liking it.
So this is also on my list, and I won't tell you where it is until I get to it. But so I have a very, I rewatched it last week as well, and I'm going to tell you that kid was fucked up before the movie began. He was mentally, and I assume physically, abused by his aunt mom. And I'm also going to guess he might have been sexually abused by her as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely some implications in there.
Yeah.
One in particular.
Yeah, where she gives him money for the date and says he'll have to come home and
she wants her back rub.
Yeah. And he seemed very grossed out by it. So I mean, here was a guy who wasn't there, and he obviously watched movies to escape from the shitty life that he had.
Mm-hmm.
What broke him was the girl not showing up. That was the final straw. And he just went crazy. I thought it was weird. Again, I said it before in that episode that Mickey Rourke's character said he knew more about Casablanca than any other movie. Anyone else, because he's seen it so many times. But the way he killed him dressed up as Hopalong Cassidy, and nobody fucking noticed it. Where the fuck did he get that costume? I can understand the Dracula. I can understand some of the other things. Well, actually, I couldn't. The gangster costume with the gun in the suit in the gun case, and then getting the car that looked like a mobster car. How much money did his aunt mom leave him? And didn't the producer realize that probate takes a while?
So that's kind of funny. One thing I noticed about this, or one thing I thought about it, was kind of that aspect. And so the place where he was working at, was that a movie studio where they were filming movies, or was that just a place where they were
a distribution center?
because
Yeah.
I was wondering, I was like, was that a studio and that's where he was getting all these outfits? But
No, it was a
must not have been.
distribution center, and man, the way they stored films there looked like shit. That's why a lot of these
Yeah.
movies are lost.
Yeah.
But
Well, it kind of showed. Now I know this is sort of like a reach, but it does. He goes into that one shop that specializes in old Hollywood photos, and obviously he was a very familiar face in there because the clerk knew him by name and stuff. So I just kind of put that stuff together with some of the costumes that, like, oh, he just kind of goes to all these shops that are on around that area and just frequents them and just picks stuff up along the way.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's also a good time for me to say that this is also on my list, and I will I will also I'll tell you when that time comes.
All right, Brian, what is your number 5?
All right, number 5.
Number 5. Yeah.
Or no, number 4. Number 4. Yeah.
No, it's
Angel
number
was
5.
number 5.
This is number 5. We still. Number 5.
No, it should be number 4.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, yeah, number 5. No, it's number 5. Because
Nope.
my first one was The Caller, second was Liquid Sky, then Dial Code Santa Claus, Memories of Miss Aggie, Dolomite 2 is the last one I said. So it's sorry, you were first, Brian. So it's my number 5, which would be Amityville 1992. It's About Time. Also
Ooh,
from a box
nice.
set. This might be my favorite Amityville film, even surpassing the original. One, because it has Megan Ward in it, and 2, this plot is utterly fucking insane. A demon clock from the original Amityville house that's haunting them, sending people through time slips, making the sister slutty, black tar coming through, sucking people in, the dad going crazy, the girl's his ex-girlfriend, current fuck buddy's boyfriend, a psychiatrist, comes over. A woman gets killed by the mascot on top of the whatever kind of truck it was. This movie is utterly bonkers, and much like Dolomite 2, I have watched it way too many times. And I've watched all the other films in the box set, but for some reason, this one is just speaks to me. And it's just so fucking stupid.
I haven't tapped into that set yet.
Oh God, it's so fun, man. It's so fun.
Yeah. This was the point in the series where it was kind of like the Friday the 13th series, where it was items from the house that were now coming in and causing hell on other people's lives. These were brilliantly. 3 of them were direct to video, and 1 was a made for TV film. This is the best of the 4.
Nice. Yeah, I managed to scoop it up during that, whatever that weird sale was, where they released the like dashed versions of stuff. Was that like New Year's Eve?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Well, this one wasn't dashed because they weren't numbered. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised that no VSAs have made my list this year. But, all right, Matt, what is your number 4?
My number 4 was both of your number 8, and that is Deadly Games, Dial Code Santa Claus, Game Over, whatever you want to call it.
Cool.
But yeah, really liked it. It's pretty high up there for me. It's one that I was, which is very rare with these movies, one that I was able to sit down and watch with my wife, and she actually enjoyed it. So that kind of took it up a little higher for me, but really liked the story. Obviously comparable to Home Alone, like Brian said, but it's, kind of more along the lines of what I would have wanted Home Alone to be. And I remember it having like a real kind of like Tim Burton-y feel almost, and I really liked that about it too.
It had for as dark as the story was, it had a magical feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they did like the outside shot of the house looked like, I don't think it's Edward Scissorhands castle, but it reminds me of some other house in one of Tim Burton's movies.
Okay.
But yeah, just really, really cool movie. I thought that the villain, the Santa Claus villain, was actually like genuinely creepy, and there's the obviously like, I don't know, like child molester kind of vibe about him that I think makes him even scarier. But this movie kind of incorporated a lot of like 80s action scenes into it too. Like I liked the training montage he was doing at the beginning, the kid like getting ready, and I liked him, the whole setting up the traps thing, and just a good watch overall.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
be.
it's something interesting to mention too, is like, because my wife watches this one with me every year since it's been released.
Mm-hmm.
And the part that gets her is during that whole setup where he's like kind of getting dressed up like Rambo.
Yeah.
She finds the shot of him kind of like oiled up and sweaty. She's like, is that like weird sexual shit? And I'm like, no, it's just, get out of your head about that. Not every filmmaker is a terrible person. Anyway, sorry, I just thought that was a good time to mention.
And I'm glad you did.
Well, it was weird because the first time we're watching, I'm sitting there smiling like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, he's doing Rambo, and she's like, what the fuck?
Well, but here's the thing: any kid who saw Rambo would be doing that at this time.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was smiling. I had a Rambo big wheel. That shit was bringing back memories for me.
Oh, you had a Rambo big wheel?
I sure did.
Did you go on the playground to get your buddies who were prisoners of war from the bullies?
Stuck inside the jungle gym.
Oh,
Dad, this time do we get to win?
go to bed.
All right, my number 4. It's
Well,
better
hold on now.
Oh,
I'm being skipped.
no, you did your. Hold on, you did your number 4.
You thought I was doing number 5.
Okay, I'm
You
sorry.
went to Matt instead of me.
I'm sorry, Brian. Go to
All
number
good.
4.
Don't be sorry. It's all good. All right. So my number 4 is one that it's another holiday movie. So this works well also with the games there. I adore this film. It does have its funny moments, especially towards the beginning of the film, where a kid witnesses Mommy and Santa Claus acting rather strange, beside the Christmas tree for an extremely long period of time, may I add. And life doesn't go as easy for this young lad as he had thought. And he becomes obsessed with Christmas and works at a toy making factory. And of course, I am talking about Christmas Evil.
Nice.
I adore this movie. Again, I do find it to be more sad once you get out of some kind of the outlandish stuff, because you're basically watching this middle-aged man whose brother is extremely successful, married to a beautiful woman that he, our main character is sort of like, why does he have this and I don't? He works at a toy factory. He's obsessed with Christmas. He just wants to bring Christmas joy back to everyone. And because the world is so cruel, they just beat him down over and over and over again until the point that he becomes unhinged and, goes on kind of a killing spree of the city streets until we have one of the most outlandish endings that I've probably ever witnessed. And I love this movie. I think it's fantastic.
The first time I heard this movie was when Synapse put it out on DVD, and the guys at Thomas Video forced me to buy it. I'm glad they did. I love the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. I think I've watched it once. But when I was living in Kansas City, the year it came out, they showed it. They had a Vinegar Syndrome night at the Alamo Draft House where they showed it. I took my buddy Punk Rock Dave to it. and he was like, "This is not a motherfucking horror movie. What the fuck did you just make me watch?" I'm like, "I made you watch A Christmas Miracle."
I mean, I guess he's not wrong in saying that. I mean, when you think traditional standard horror tropes, yeah, you're not really going to get that with this one.
It's not a horror. It's not a horror movie. It's a very sad character study. But what I'm going to tell you is the most pathetic part is that toy company was still in business making the kind of toys that they made. Because by the time this movie came out, it was all about Star Wars action figures and movie tie-in toys, and they were making shit.
Yeah, they were stuck back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. But
this is one I would like for us to do an episode on around Christmas time, because
we'll put it in the book. We will do Christmas Evil the week of Christmas.
Nice. I would like to see what your take is on the end.
All right, we'll talk about it then. But I am actually surprised that my number 4 pick has not been mentioned yet, because Brian, I know you've bought this movie several times and you kept on selling it.
Why it's not on my list.
This movie to me was one that I have seen many times on cable and theatrically the year it came out. It might be the greatest BMX movie ever made. I am talking about Hal Needham's 1986 classic that stars Bill Allen, a young Lori Loughlin, Talia Shire, Jack Weston, Bart Connor, Ray Walston, a.k.a. Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The only movie that had the song Send Me an Angel, where people danced on bicycles. I am talking about Rad. The Karate Kid of BMX movies.
It's actually a really good way to put it. The Karate Kid of BMX movies. I would agree with that.
It is not a typical Vinegar Syndrome film. They released it in a beautiful lenticular cover that's easily scratchable, and I don't know why they only released like a few thousand copies of this film, where it sold out pretty fast.
It was like 12,000.
Yeah, and now someone else has it out there. Mill Creek, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But holy crap, this movie, it looks amazing. It sounds amazing. And it's, again, one of those ones I just keep on coming back to. I know exactly where it is on my shelf. And probably once every 6 weeks I watch Rad.
Wow.
Sadly, it is not my number 1 film.
So you're saying,
you had
you're saying this is beautiful.
Yes.
I received this and was like, good God, that's disgusting.
It's the other side. The foil side is the one that came so damaged, for most people at least. No, again, I really do. When I heard people's love for this film, I really did. I could tell, like, okay, some people grew up with this and some people didn't. I didn't. And it's a delightful film. It was a really good time. I just ended up getting rid of it because ultimately it's not something that's going to have, and every 6 weeks I sit down and pop some popcorn and put on a helmet and watch BMX.
Well, I don't put on a helmet. I don't take the safety. The race at the end of it is pretty intense. I mean, our hero's going to win, and he's going to beat the odds that the evil corporation behind it, who wants Bart Connor and the evil twins to win. It's just this classic underdog story, and it's such a fun movie. I absolutely love it. It makes my heart smile that Vinegar Syndrome put it out. But
so is it fair to say that Rad is Matt and mine's over the top?
I think stylistically, script-wise, acting-wise, Rad is a much better movie than Over the Top. Matt, what are your thoughts? Have you watched this one yet?
Brian, you wanna go have a talk over here somewhere?
Yeah, dude. Let's do it, man.
Okay.
All right, tune in next week whenever we don't have Rob.
I'm the heart and soul of this show.
You are, and that's sad.
I've already gotten rid of one co-host.
Ouch.
No, I'm joking.
No, I can't tell you the last time I saw this. I remember seeing it as a kid, but that's kind of why I kind of sourced it out. I just recently got it to watch and just haven't yet. I was going to ask you if you've ever seen the movie Airborne, though, because I feel like it reminded me a lot of Airborne.
I have not seen Airborne,
Oh.
but I have seen Thrashing and Gleam in the Cube.
Airborne is the rollerblading movie. Pretty much exactly like Rad.
Well, or Thrashing, which is the skateboard version of Rad starring Josh Brolin. All right. Top 3. Brian, your number 3 pick.
All right. This was a bit of a struggle for me. But I feel confident in my choices. The next one, my number 3 spot, is going to one that holds a special place in my heart. It was my very first introduction to Vinegar Syndrome.
Oriental Hawaii.
But also I like this one even as time has gone on because of how much of their catalog I've watched and just how it fits in with the rest of the titles. This is an extremely grimy, gross, but yet silly and stupid movie. And it hits pretty much every mark for me about why I like independent cinema and underground films. And I am going with The Suckling. I adore it. There's literally nothing that I would change about that movie. It is there. Go ahead.
That ending.
that ending. Man, the first time I seen that, I don't honestly know if I had laughed that hard ever before in my life. I rewound that scene so many times, but again, not just speaking on the crazy ass ending, just, this, we start off with a very young couple going to a house that is performing abortions illegally.
Hold on. You are going to a house of ill repute. That is a brothel / abortion clinic.
Right. Correct. Just a lot of things happen. It's a one-stop shop. You can get everything done in one fell swoop there. But I will admit, that throughout a lot of the film, there are some really long segments that you can kind of feel the runtime on them. But again, it's just every conversation, every scene, every shot with just how gritty it is and the lighting or lack thereof is just so. It's just a gross movie that just knows how to place, or just has these moments placed throughout it, I guess the best way to put it, that are just comical enough or zany enough. You have a guy, hiring one of the prostitutes, and he's got on one of those old hats with the little fucking pinwheel on the top of it, and there's a whip and a dildo involved and all this zany kind of shit happening. I love it. I love this movie.
It's a great film. It teaches. It has a very important moral. Don't get your abortions in the basement of brothels. and make sure if you do that the fetus does not go into a toxic sewer that'll mutate it and bring it back to life and turn it into a very scary monster.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think this is the most creative form of zombie?
I don't think it's a zombie.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's a monster.
Really?
It was
Yeah, it's more of a mutation. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's kind of more in the vein of Alligator.
Yeah, but I mean, sorry, I'm doing that typical like, oh, he scratched his jaw and thought about it. I mean, I guess I get your angle though, because it's a dead fetus.
Yeah, but it was
You
pretty
know,
much
it didn't
alive
kill him.
though by the time the toxic waste, toxic sludge brought it back to life, and not as a zombie. A zombie doesn't have intelligence. This one does, especially for that ending to work. All right, we're going to talk about this on an episode, so let's leave it as your number 3. Matt, what is your number 3 pick?
Okay.
My number 3 pick is, and hopefully I don't make you mad at me again, but I don't know if there's anything more I can say about this movie that I already haven't. Is Petey Wheatstraw.
It's a great film.
Yeah.
We talked about it in the last episode. I don't know if we need to go back into it, but
yeah,
it has a great ending. It might be Rudy Ray Moore's most creative film of the 4 that him and the 4 in this series, and it certainly is darkest.
Yeah. I was gonna say it. I think it has a really good mix of, kind of dark seriousness with comedy, with, terrible kung fu, but it just kind of, checks all the boxes for me. It's like I said, I haven't seen Human Tornado yet, but this one is my favorite so far. But yeah, we did an episode. We talked about it last week. I don't know what else I can possibly say about it.
So let's not say anything, and let's move to my number 3, which I'm going to tell you is on no one's list. And if it's your number 2 or number 1, I'm just going to make out with you at some point. So this was
my number 1 or 2.
This was from Exquisite Pictures. I'm going to preface say my favorite TV show of all time is a show called The Prisoner. 17 episode British spy metaphorical show that is fucking amazing, which was written and starred by Patrick McGoohan. The Prisoner had a very divisive ending, and he kind of went into hiding afterwards for a while and ended up in the Southwest in the United States because no one would look for a British actor in that part of the world. At that point, a gentleman wrote a play called Catch My Soul, which was a rock and roll retelling of Othello. He somehow convinced Patrick McGoohan to direct it. It stars Richie Havens, Lance Legault, Tony Joe, Susan Hubley, and Susan Terrell in a rock and roll retelling of Shakespeare's Othello. The movie was a flop. It was later renamed Santa Fe Satan and just kind of disappeared. I had never heard of its existence until Vinegar Syndrome announced it was coming out as the 2nd or 3rd Exquisite Pictures film. And all of a sudden, I was so fucking excited because it was included as part of my subscription, because back in those days, the sub-labels were also part of your subscription. And I watched it. The movie is a piece of shit. It deserved to be forgotten, but it's just a weird movie, and I'm glad I have it. I'm glad it exists, and it's one I revisit about once a year because it's such a weird anomaly. Patrick McGoohan was definitely the wrong person to direct it, but the last 3 movies on my list kind of fulfill what the mission of Vinegar Syndrome was: rescuing obscure films and bringing them to the world. So that is why it is my number 3. And someone needs to put it back in print because people do need to see it.
Nice. One of those ones that you say I will never own.
I'm sure you can find this one. You'll probably be paying a pretty penny for it, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it was limited. I don't know. I don't think it was. I think they lost the rights to it. Like the 3 exquisite films, not the surfing one. Some call it Loving, which is really fucking good, and the Dennis Hopper documentary, An American Dreamer, is also really good. Somebody needs to re-release all 3 of those movies. The surfing one doesn't have to ever be seen again by anybody in this world. Fucking sucks. Looks beautiful, but sucks. All right, Brian, what is your number 2?
All right, so my number 2 is obviously one of my favorites because, because it's number 2. But this one just, there's many other films in the VS catalog I think that surpass it as far as quality and what filmmakers were able to achieve and things of that nature. This one is solely for me just a absolute blast, a tremendous amount of fun, completely just silly and stupid, but fairly well acted, has some pretty big names in it. And it contains more pussy than any other VS film.
Ooh.
Would anyone like to take a guess before I
The Uninvited?
You are correct, Robert. the Uninvited. Killer kitty cat movie. I love everything about this one. I've probably watched that one. I've watched it several times. It's one of the most viewed in my VS collection, and I never get tired of it. I just think it's a phenomenal film. It's there's not a lot to say about it other than it is just a lot of fun. You have a cat that's being experimented on by the government, and it gets loose, and you find out there's a cat inside this cat, and it escapes this facility. And these people who are looking to party down in Florida, wherever the hell it is, they come across this cat. It's put itself in a trash can, strategically meowing, for these passerbys to find it and take it on this rich guy's yacht, which the rich guy, he's just trying to get to make a bank deposit. The bunch of corrupt money stuff, but it's just a lot of fun. It also, the alternate cut that is included in the special features is, in my opinion, the far superior. You have this ending that is just bonkers with these folks trying to get away on a rowboat and this kitty cat coming up like out of the ocean and trying to kill them. And I love it. Yeah.
It's a fun movie. I can't watch it because I worry it gives my cat ideas.
What?
I'm not a big fan of when animals attack movie, but this one was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Matt, what are your thoughts on the Uninvited?
I haven't seen it. I actually randomly put it on one night last week. I saw that it was on Arrow's streaming service. And it was super late and I fell asleep and I barely got into it. So I have nothing to add. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. Definitely watch it though.
It's a fun movie. You can also tell it was done for little to no money.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Matt, your number 2 pick.
My number 2 is kind of a weird one for me. It was another one where I decided to watch it to see if I could add any more movies to my list here, and this one made it, and it made it pretty high. And it's one that I don't know if it's because it's like fresh on my mind and it kind of had an impression on me that it got so high. It might be one that kind of goes down over time, and maybe next time we do this it isn't on here, but for right now it's on here and it's pretty high, and it is the 1971 Nelson Lyon, The Telephone Book.
Yeah, it's a good film.
Kind of just like didn't know what to even get into. I had seen a lot of people in a lot of the groups, baffled that there was still a slip at the time, that it lasted so long because it's such a good movie. And so I had always meant to watch it. And I had this. What's that?
Stars a young Jill Clayburgh. Yeah.
Oh. What was I going to say? Oh, I had this grand plan when we started talking about this, where I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch a ton of Vinegar Syndrome movies. I'm gonna really try to, expand my horizons on this list. And this one I had heard was really good, and I saw that it had a short runtime, so I was like, this is one of the ones I'm gonna watch. Let's do it. And I watched it, and I was just, kind of just like couldn't take my eyes off of it. And it's just the story of this woman who gets a dirty phone call and sets out on this journey to find out who called her. And it's, it's got like laughs along the way. I don't know if you would label this as like an adult film.
It wasn't a porn, but I would say it's kind of a dirty movie.
Okay. Yeah, I thought a lot of the shots were really, really cool. Just the story itself just seems like, it's so basic that you wouldn't think, anything would come of it. You wouldn't think that it was worth talking about, but it worked for me. And then like the ending animation scene, I just came out of nowhere, and I thought it was really cool.
What do you think? What do you think of the Blu-rays cover? It's a dick. It's a dick, right?
Is it?
Look at the way the phone is set up.
Oh yeah, I guess it is. Okay.
Very, very, very clever. Very clever.
Yeah.
I think it's a good movie. It didn't make my top 10 because I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah.
But it's one of those ones I need to revisit.
Yeah, and it's one that I do actually want to watch again, because I don't know. I kind of have this feeling where it can kind of be seen as like, we were kind of brought it up in Fade to Black when we were talking about it, but it's kind of one of those movies where you kind of think like, did this actually happen, kind of deal. So yeah, it is one I want to watch again, and it's like I said, it's a weird one for me, and it's one that I don't know would make my list in the future or not, but it definitely made an impression on me enough to include it so highly right now.
Cool. All right, my number 2. We already talked about it. Fade to Black. Number 2 because it's a celebration of movies. In a whole nother world that he could have been a member of this podcast and been the most informed member of the group. But no, he is one of those characters that is ways like Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver, just a very, very tragic character and a very tragic story. And I did learn something interesting, though, while watching it last week. The female cop who is sleeping with the coke-using social worker or therapist is Chris Pine's mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's now a therapist herself in real life, along with his sister. And her husband, Chris Pine's dad, was the chief on the show Chips. I have really nothing more to say about it. Oh, yeah. The girl who played Marilyn was also in Surf 2 and Alien from L.A.
Ooh.
And the guy who she went on a date with and missed her date with, Dennis Christopher's character, was on the show 30-something and was in the movie Singles. So I have nothing more to add about Fade to Black since we already talked about it. But before we get to our number 1 choice, Brian, what are 2 or 3 of your runner-ups that did not make the list?
Well, one that I brought down, again, I only brought down 2. I could probably think of some more, though. Well, I could definitely think of some more. But 2 that were definitely on the cusp, like throughout this entire challenge, actually. And one that I will mention right now might come alarming to you guys because it is a supremely recent release. But I enjoyed this film so much that it did make me question.
Okay.
And that is Righting Wrongs. That is an honorable mention.
Cool.
For
We
me.
will.
Brian,
We're gonna talk about that on an upcoming episode. So don't even have to go into detail on your honorable mentions.
That was definitely one that almost made it and didn't. Okay. Again, Evils of the Night, I had to kick off because I felt like I didn't really quite hold up the way that I thought it would. Outside of that, I did think of putting Hot and Saucy Pizza Girls just because that was literally my first introduction to the XXX features on their line. And I do find that movie to be a tremendous amount of fun. And I think there's a lot of historical value to that film. And it's just a good time.
Awesome. What is your number one pick?
All right. So my number one pick is Fade to Black. That's why I was spending so much time on the honorable mentions. I've already said. Fade to Black to me was number one. I had never seen this film before. And when I was reading the synopsis of it, I was like, well, of course, this sounds like it's geared towards people like me. Dennis Christopher's performance in that movie, even though there are some silly moments, specifically with like whenever he's doing like the gangster, like, kind of like a Starlick sort of laugh, which is a little bit overused, but man, this movie honestly like became one of my favorites instantly. It was sort of like, where has this movie been my whole life? It has everything I look for in a fucking film. And I adore it. I absolutely adore it. I think it's just a really, really well-made fucking film. And I think it was made for movie lovers like us. And there's not a whole lot that I can say about it that hasn't already been said.
It's a cautionary tale. Don't become this guy.
Well, sure, but you also, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I sit there watching it and just like, I don't know, man. I just smile because I'm just like, oh man, like this guy just loves this shit so much. Not like I want to go on a killing spree or anything. I'm not a psychotic. I'm okay. But no, I don't know. I think there's so many things that are relatable to Eric Binford's character that so many of us have probably been through with being like engulfed in this lifestyle. Like, oh man, these movies, they're kind of an escape. And then, again with, the Aunt Mom angle and the girl standing me up and all this stuff. It's like, enough's enough. And
she didn't stand him up.
Well, she forgot. Yeah. She forgot. Yeah. But just the way that he goes about, like, when he does go off the edge for a film like this that has, you've developed this character that's like, obviously he's really into this world of cinema, and to create the kills based on these movies that he loves, I just think it was so creative. It was just so fucking creative. It's like, he could kill them in any manner, but like, of course he would choose like, oh, I'm going to dress up like the Mummy and scare my boss to death. I'm going to dress up like Dracula and scare this fucking hooker that turned me down to death. Like, it's just, I love it. I think it's extremely, extremely well made. And I think it's a film that a lot of people are missing out on.
No, and it was also a film that was not released in a long time because of rights hell, because of the movies that were shown in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah. But no, it's a great number one choice. It was one of the few that we all had on our list. And I am very eager to hear, Matt, what are 2 or 3 of your honorable mentions before we get to your number one pick?
A couple honorable mentions. One of them was one of our first episodes we did. And I remember really liking the movie then. And that's Candy Snatchers.
Don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. It just kind of stuck with me. I liked, it was kind of like the first kind of movie like that I watched, I guess.
Nihilistic ending.
Yeah. And then I'll just do two. I guess the other one that I had, which didn't make the list because I don't know how I feel so much about the movie itself. But I do know that I love like the massive undertaking that the movie was to complete, and that's New York Ninja. It's entertaining. It's got all the like.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah. I just didn't know if I liked the movie itself enough to add it, but I was really impressed by what Vinegar Syndrome did with it to get it to us.
Okay. And what is your number one pick?
My number one pick is actually one of your number 9 ties, and that is Liquid Sky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you said, Brian. It's a weird movie, very odd, and it's something that I had never kind of seen in a movie, but it had a lot that I liked. I've mentioned before that one of my favorite kind of subgenres, I guess, is movies that take place in New York. So that automatically had me. Had aliens, love aliens, and it's just the characters themselves in it, where there wasn't a ton of time spent with any sort of development, but I felt like you really knew the characters, like you knew how they were feeling, you knew what they were into.
Drugs. They were into drugs.
Yeah, they were into
I was
drugs.
gonna say, don't make me watch this fucking movie again. God damn it.
We've already done an episode on
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah, just go watch that.
yeah.
But
Go
yeah,
watch
it's just
the
kind of
movie
like
again.
it doesn't seem like it seems like the movie should be a big piece of crap, and somehow it just really really works for me, and I really liked it. I thought the kind of twist with the alien giving the girl powers, I thought was interesting and unique. Yeah, I think that was our very first episode, and it's stuck with me since.
Well, I'm glad it's your number one. Let me go over my 3 to 4 honorable mentions: Candy Snatchers,
Nice.
Pandemonium, Surf 2, and Shallow Grave. But my number one, this movie wouldn't exist if Vinegar Syndrome didn't rescue it and put it together. I am talking about New York Ninja.
Nice.
I think this movie is it the most amazing film out there? No. But the fact that it shouldn't exist, and the fact that they put so much love into it to try to get it out there, and where they had no script, an incomplete film, and they were able to turn it into something that made sense, just makes me so happy. It's an amazing feat. It's a movie that deserves to be seen, and I got the privilege of seeing it with an audience earlier this year, and it made me like the movie even more. It's such a beautiful piece of cinema. It makes me happy that they were able to put this together. And if anything, if we look at Vinegar Syndrome's history, this is the most important film that they put out. And the fact that it's enjoyable as fuck just doesn't hurt it.
Yeah.
So
one thing I found out about myself while watching it is that I think I prefer my ninjas on roller skates.
it's such a labor of love, and I really hope John Liu gets a chance to see it. I know he's living in Vietnam and wants nothing to do with it, but he did give him their blessing. I hope one day he gets to see his achievement come to life, because it's a miracle this movie exists.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
And that does it for our top 10. Good job, guys, that we did it. We did it. Next week, I'm thinking we should do something a little simpler. We've done a couple list episodes. I think, we should do a Vinegar Syndrome After Hours episode. Do you guys all have Babyface?
I do.
Yeah, I do have that. Yep.
Let's talk about Babyface.
Okay.
The Alex Terenzi classic about a man whore and his female pimps.
Nice.
But that does it for this week. That does it for us this week. Guys, please hit subscribe. We are back on a regular basis. We have a cool new theme. We have theme music now.
Is that it?
Nope. You got to go watch our last episode, Brian, to hear the wonderful music that the Grindhouse Chic Orchestra put together.
Oh, we have an orchestra. Nice.
We have an orchestra. And I do want to thank Oliver Gruner, who was the original person who put this show together. He was going to come back, but he has decided to move on to something else. We thank you for everything that you've done for the show, even though you haven't been with us for the last few months. Thank you so much for getting this show started, bringing Matt and me together, and then allowing us to bring Brian on board. We couldn't have done it without you, so thank you. And I'm sorry for the crack I made earlier, but I'm an asshole. We will see you next week as we go down to the seedy side of the Vinegar Syndrome hole, and we talk about Babyface and maybe a couple of other things along the way. So we will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share it with your friends if you think they might be interested. We will see you next time. Bye.